មាជិកគណៈបកសង្គ្រោះជាតិប្រាជ្ញាប្រធានសាមគ្គីក្នុងនានាសង្គ្រោះបម្រើការពារកម្ពុជាខ្មែរគ្រប់គ្នាទាមទារសិទ្ធិសេរីឯករាជ្យបូរណភាពអធិបតេយ្យខ្មែរប្រស្រីបដូរផ្ដាច់ថែរក្សាមិនឲ្យបរទេសឈ្លានពានមកត្រួតត្រាសម្បត្តិដូនតាធនធានជាតិខ្មែរ
Good evening. My name is Linda. Welcome and thank you for joining our show. This is Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. It is part of the CNRP America live show. Today is Tuesday, September 14, 2021. Again, thank you for joining our show. And before we start, please help to support our petitions. Please join me to support ending impunity for justice in Cambodia. Your support is very important for us to find justice for victims of state-backed killing in Cambodia. Until now, hundreds of victims have never received any justice. So please, your signature, your support at change.org mean a lot to us. Please watch a short video clip, Ending Impunity for Justice in Cambodia, by Her Excellency Mosako. She is detailing on how your support will help us. Please support our petitions at change.org. The title is Ending Impunity for Justice in Cambodia. Thank you.
Between 1975 and 1979, the green rice fields of Cambodia became the killing fields of Cambodia. Over 2 million lives were lost, including the lives of my own parents and many of my relatives. The Khmer Rouge wanted a society that is equal according to them. We still live and we are haunted with the legacy of the Khmer Rouge, which is the culture of impunity that continues to exist in Cambodia today. It is for this reason that we have started a campaign, worldwide campaign, a campaign to end impunity in Cambodia by seeking justice for cases, for the executions, for the killings that are organized, that are backed by the state. Among those cases of state-backed killings are the killings of Chivichir, a very famous trade union leader, Bisep Pilaka, a ballet dancer, of Kemley, an independent analyst, of Chutvuti, a well-known environmentalist, of Venerable Sun Bunthun, who was advocating for the monks to have the right to vote, including workers who demanded fair wages. The campaign will also advocate for governments that are members of the United Nations to put pressure on the government of Cambodia to conduct independent investigations by using universal tools such as the UN Protocol for Independent Investigation. The campaign will also advocate for governments that believe and want to protect universal human rights to impose sanctions on the leaders of the government of Cambodia who are implicated in these state-backed extrajudicial killings. We ask you to be with us, to support us, to be part of a campaign to end the culture of impunity in Cambodia and to find justice for those who have been waiting for justice for their loved ones killed by the state. There cannot be real peace unless there is justice. There cannot be justice unless there is independent investigation. And then take those cases to an independent justice system. Join us by signing on this petition. Thank you.
យើងរួមគ្នាបញ្ចប់នីតិរដ្ឋភាពដើម្បីយុត្តិធម៌នៅកម្ពុជា
Welcome back and thank you for joining our show. Again, you just watched Ending Impunity for Justice in Cambodia. The petitions is at change.org. Together we fight to end impunity, justice for victims of Cambodian state-backed killing. So far, I just checked a minute ago, we have 107,411 signatures. So please help to sign our petitions. We are looking for at least 500,000 signatures. Due to the fear and possible of political repressions and to ensure Cambodian safety, the petition can be signed anonymously to protect your identity. So please head to change.org and sign the petitions. Ending impunity for justice in Cambodia. Your support is really important. Thank you so much for friends and family that have signed, but please, our petitions need more signature. Thank you. Again, my name is Linda. Thank you for joining us today. Our topic for today is forced quarantine of COVID-19. I have two wonderful guests with me this evening. One of them been here last week already, and she is so nice. She came back and pick up where she left off. Her name is Sita Arunson. She is the CNRP-A supporter in Fresno, California. Let me bring her out. Chim Hip Sup Bong.
Chim Hip Sup Linda.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. What have you been doing since last week?
Busy. Went to support Luk Samrangsi. He came to Long Beach during this weekend, and it was fun and exhilarating. So yeah, it was fun. Yeah, went to support.
Yes. Also, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bong, and as always, thank you for joining our show. Thank you for giving us your time.
No problem. Anytime.
Okay, thank you, Bong. My second guest, she never been here before. She's really great. I met her many times. Her name is Somaly Noun. She is also a CNRP supporter in Fresno. I guess Fresno, California is in the house today. Chim Hip Sup On.
Chim Hip Sup Bong today.
How are you?
Well, I'm very well. Thank you very much. How about you?
I'm good, thank you. Since this is your first time, tell us something about yourself. What does Somaly like to do, and what does she do right now?
Well, first of all, I greatly appreciate for having me here in the show, live streaming show. Thank you very much. Just a quick introducing about myself. My name is Somaly. My name is Somaly. I live in Central California. I enjoy performing and singing during my spare time as a stress relief method throughout my days, recognizing, that we have an awesome privilege to have such opportunity, revolving the social media platform here. Taking a notice that I am one of the observer, just like every one of you. When there's a live streaming, I am one of them that's going in there and just kind of peek and look around.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. It's just another part of me, taking involved in social media, and I take a great pride of having that privilege. I just want to throw it out there.
What do you do in Central California? Do you go to school? Do you work? What do you do?
Yes, I am work in the back end for the professional side of it, more like a business side for a hospital setting. I do handle the Fresno community, Clovis community, all of the Central Hospital here in Fresno, California. I have my background with a community hospital for 16 years, worked with them in the business line. So yeah, I'm pretty much around here in Fresno.
Perfect. So our topic for COVID-19, it should be also in your backyard. You see it almost every day. I guess every day probably.
Absolutely, absolutely. Although I'm not in the actual hospital setting, but every little things that happens or going around, mainly in our hospital, I do have a first advancing of knowing that information as well. The implementation, the regulations, and what is to be expected, and the guideline of that. Since we are the part of the hospital employees, we do receive first-hand information as well.
Thank you, Pomona, and thank you for being here. We love you being here.
Thank you very much. Likewise.
Let me bring Bong Sita back so that we can start our show. First, and again, thank you both guests for being here. Thank you, Bong Sita. Thank you, Paon Somaly. Again, our topic is forced quarantine of COVID-19. We going to go into the topic in a little bit, but I would like to talk about a subject that we talked about last week. Not topic, like little current event that we talked about last week, and it's about the new airport that Bill, I know Bong Sita and I was discussing about this last week, but since then there's a new development which 30 people got arrested since last week. 30 innocent family got arrested because they want to go into their home, their land. So let me remind our audience, last week we did a short discussion about a private Cambodian firm called Overseas Cambodia Investment Corporations, stand for the short for OCIC, for construction of the US $1.5 billion, which is the new airport project in Phnom Penh. The land dispute between 330 family and the basically the OCIC company. As we know, in Cambodia, we call it chronic issue, meaning any places that develop, always there's people that never fully compensated, and also there's also what we call land grabbing, which is people lost land, people came out in protest. This time, 330 families. I did play a short clip last week, so I want to play that again so that way to remind our audience, and that is a pretty hot topic, and also it's been going on for 3 years. The family been protesting, the family been complaining about undercompensate. So I want to play a little clip and we'll talk about it. And I also will ask Bong Sita and also ask Somaly. She lives in America and she will share a little bit of what does people in this country, when they develop something, does people go protest, the people undercompensate, and we'll touch base a little bit what happened in America when a place that's going to be developed. But before we start, I will share what we watch a little bit to remind our audience what's going on.
A tense standoff between police and land protesters in southeast Cambodia's Kandal province. Local villagers are protesting plans to use their farmland to build a new airport. The protesters say authorities have not given them adequate compensation for the land that was seized. Hundreds of police were deployed to prevent protesters from reaching their farmland. The Kandal province governor has told RFA that the compensation offered villagers is fair. The airport project is projected to cost about $1.5 billion. It will be built on about 3,000 hectares of land. Disputes over land are common in Cambodia and other Southeast Asian countries. The powerful, wealthy, and well-connected often take property from the poor, leaving them with little means of support.
Thank you. That's just a little video reminding us that was before last week on, I guess not last week, this is a couple of days ago, where on September 12th, the police arrest 31 people because there was 100 of authority preventing farmer from accessing their land. So as a result, because of the push and shove, the police arrested 31 people. Bong Sita, you remember that we talked about that last week, and how development, and we all both said it, that we all for development, we all for this massive airport that, you know, it's going to be beautiful, but at the same time, it's very sad for people that 330 family that doesn't have land.
Yeah. Yeah, this topic is not new. It's been going on, like you said, for the last 3 years. And this particular incident is happening all over Cambodia, not just in that place. We've seen it so many times, again and again, you know, land grabbing, the rich getting richer and the poor getting poor, and they not being compensated for what the land is worth. It. From the Radio Free Asia news, they mentioned about 100 people went to the land, to the place where it's being blocked off, and not letting people go and do their farming. About 100 people, but there's about 200 to 300 law enforcement that came over and, you know, just squeeze them and take them to jail. And like you mentioned, about 30 some people that was arrested a few days ago, again, in addition to previous arrest. So it's been an ongoing thing. And like you said, it's a chronic situation about land grabbing in Khmer. That's the problem that's been going on for years, since Hun Sen came into power.
So when issue doesn't get resolved, who's likely to be behind that? Because nothing ever resolved. We keep seeing everywhere. We keep seeing every single place.
Yeah. It's the leaderships. You know, you saw in the protest that they have, they hold picture of Hun Sen and his wife and the kings. They're the one who's supposed to help solve those situations. They ask for them to help, but Hun Sen and his crony are the one who allow this to happen. You know, the airport, the company probably compensate maybe fair market value to the people, but by the time the money get to the people, it has to go through so many layers, so many people that so the fund reduced maybe to 10-15% from what the original fair price value is. So, you know, the top leader, which is Hun Sen and his crony, is allowing all this. If without them, the people, the law enforcement won't be doing any of those stuff. So everything's come from the top. That's
Thank you, Mom.
It's just want to add, it's very unlikely, like, you know, it's not the same system as in America. Maybe Somaly can touch base a little bit how it's being done over here in America, if things like that.
Yeah, let me remind our audience, this has been going on for 3 years. So this is not, it's been on the news for, I believe, for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's getting more attention because it's a massive project. And for the last 3 years, the CIOC offer, let me see, on behalf of the company, they offer the villager $8 per square meter for their land, but the villagers say that it's too low because the market value is at $70 to $80 per square meter. This is the same thing in America. I remember when I was young, there's a neighborhood that they're going to build freeway on, and there's home. And as a result, the home got removed, and we have beautiful freeway. But I don't see people go and protest. Somaly, can you help to explain, like in America, what happened? We know that the government do compensate people for their loss of home, loss of land.
So first of all, I just view the footage from what you showed me right now through RFA. The sources are very reliable, by the way. In looking at the perspective in the America side, of course, the proper way or the proper channel when you are developing a certain things, you have to go through the change of a command. You have to go through the building permits. You have to go through the fence, the floor plans, you know, the fair system conformance. There's just a lot of level of permits in order for that particular constructions to happen. It is a lengthy process, but that should be the proper way. That's including negotiating with the homeowners that are affecting in that part of that land as well. Looking at the footage and the why this construction are built, again, these construction that are being built in Cambodia right now are pretty much is created by China. China is the one that, you know, their negotiations between Phnom Penh and the China's government. According to the source here, back in February of 2021, this is through, let me see here, the website is through Khmer Times. Regarding that 1.5 billion Phnom Penh airport sets for 50% completing by the end. Overall, they're indicating that there's 43% of this have been completed, which means as of early 2021, the work on land dispute settlement for this airport is approximately 43% completed, of which of the total issues settled cover more than 1,100 hectares of equivalence to 43.75 total of construction area overall, the 2,600 hectares. Okay, so negotiating with homeowner, you know, set up some sort of a negotiation, a fair, you know, price value versus to what you've given to those homeowners that are affecting. $8 per square meters, it's just isn't enough for them to you know, give up their only land that they have and to manage to survive that they don't have, especially with the economy right now with COVID and businesses not going, you know, forward. It's just really hard. And so again, this is all coming down, like Bang Sri Sita said, it's all coming down from the top. If the top is organized enough to be fair about it, there probably won't be any disruptions. But because of the fact that it's still unfair, and we already know that the fair market was at $70 to $80 per square meter, and they're only offering 8. That's just not fair at all. And so in this case, in my perspective, yeah, it's no different than land, you know, land grabbing. We're still are going through this same over and over again with that as well. It's from the beginning of, you know, centuries, and we're now in the 2021, and we're still seeing this. So yeah, that part of the regime of the Khmer Phnom, you know, in Phnom Penh, they need to pretty much get themselves organized a little bit, because I wouldn't be, you know, I would not be one of those 330 people that's losing my land and not given a fair value. And of course, it is heartbreaking to see them. And not alone, you're putting them in jail and they can't even help themselves. They don't have any money to help themselves. That's just violating, again, we're going back to human right they're violating this human right process. And people all over the world, all over around the world are seeing this. They're just making my country look worse as it is.
Yeah, this is like saying you coming to your own home, but you cannot go in. They're gonna arrest you if you come to, or you got go into their own home. According to the reading I read, is like the villagers hold title to their land and they deserve just, according to the thing, they deserve justice and fair compensations. I know in Cambodia, land have been passed from generation to generations. For $8 per meters per square meter, and they cannot go buy the land next door for $8 per square meter. So that's alone, it's not a fair compensation at all. So like I was going back to what I saw when I was young, when the neighborhood was, they were building freeway. So what happened was, there's like many homes on each side of the freeway. I not for one seeing any protest, nothing. And this is a freeway where like 5 lanes each side, so 10. This is a big freeway that they're building, and they just keep going. But I know friends that lost their home. Lost their home. Their friend that no longer live at that location because now it's a freeway. But they compensate the family. They compensate to the fair market value, and everyone live peacefully, and there's no protest. And the freeway got built, and we've been driving on it for over 10 to 15 years now. So that's how development in this country. I know when they develop something, it needs to have a study. Is that going to affect people? Is that going to affect the environment? In this case, I don't know where's the study they did. 330 families that's going to be affected. And also the environment, is there any effect on the environment? It's a really massive, from what I heard, it's a massive airport, and it's like $1.5 billion. They cannot give some of that $1.5 billion to the villagers and compensate them fair enough. It's only 330 families.
Linda, if I may add.
Yes.
If they've been compensated fairly, the fair market price, they can move on. I'm sure most of them will agree to move on and to get another piece of land that they can live off. That's all those people wanted. They don't just want to stay there, don't want to move. I don't think that's the case. But they not being compensated at the fair market value. And so this is outrageous human right violation to the core. That there's no question about it. It's they don't care about the outcome of the people who are affected by it. All they care about is just get it done. And talking about money, Hun Sen's right now is shortage of money because of a lot of things going on. Who's building those airports? Probably supplement from foreigner, China, who know? But
Somaly just read it. It's China behind that.
Behind that. Okay, there you go. Yeah. So so that means it's gonna be Chinese airport. It's not gonna be Cambodian airport. It just, I don't know what else to say, but it's human right violation in every aspect of the way.
And it's so easy to solve. They only want 70 to 80 per meter square, and give them $8 for 3 years already. It's been offered them at $8, and that's just not. It's just not right. You're gonna move to the next city or next town, you cannot even buy land for that much. So that's not compensating, that's not fair, and that's a violation on their human rights. Well, thank you, lady. Do you have anything to add on that current event? It's been going on for the last, I guess we heard about it like the last 3 weeks.
No, I think we said enough. Radio Free Asia says plenty also. Yeah, it's just one of those chronic situations that happen again and again in made different part of the country, ongoing all the time. We hear about it. It's just right now it's about that particular place, but it's an ongoing issue all over the country.
Well, thank you, Bong, and thank you, Paon. Let's get into our topic. Our topic is forced quarantine of COVID-19, and this is, I'm talking about the migrant workers from Thailand that returned to Cambodia. So in the news, they were complaining that they were being quarantined for too long. Also, the quarantine situation, I mean the quarantine place, the way they hold them, it's allowed them to get infected with COVID-19. So according to what I read, it's like 21 days. That's like 3 whole weeks more than, I mean, longer than the WHO and the CDC recommended. In America, we recommended 10 to 14 days quarantine. This is like 21 days. Do you read somewhere in the CDC or the WHO that I missed somewhere that it's allowed to be 21 days quarantine? Somaly, can you help, since you are in the areas of that?
So coming from coming from the hospital perspective, we follow the CDC guideline. You know, that quarantine guideline is the same overall. Stay home for 14 days after your last contact with a person who have COVID. Watch for your fever over 100.4 Fahrenheit degree. If there's any cough, shortness of breath, other symptom of COVID related, you know, if possible, stay away from, you know, from others, especially people who are at a higher risk of getting, you know, very sick from COVID-19. Now, I'm quite amazed when Bong Srey said that they're being held up, you know, against their will for so long like that. And especially they're being put together. That's just not the way the practice should be. It's not even should be functional. Now, the question is, why are they limited of certain place to help this quarantine? Why can't our people be in quarantine at home and be respected like the way that we should be respected? Why does it need to be treated like animal and take them, put in quarantine for so long, you know, take them apart away from their family? I just don't understand. I just don't understand.
Yes, so they are a mandatory 3 weeks set by the health ministry in Cambodia. So it is 21 days. And then also people said that some say that close confinement and poor hygiene in isolation facility are making the situation worse. So if you can imagine staying in a hallway for people for 3 weeks, and you don't know who has them or who don't. When you give them a COVID test, it might not show up that day, but it might show up 2 or 3 days later. So so many people at the same place are making the situation worse. So what they said is that since March 2020 through September 8, there are nearly, 240,000 Cambodian labor have returned from Thailand to Cambodia. I know Bong Sita probably know a little bit on the what we call migrant worker, that they leave Cambodia to go work in Thailand. Now they returning because of the economy in Thailand. I mean, everywhere is get hit by the COVID-19 because their school been closed, restaurant closed, so they returning home because there's no work. And at the same time, when they return home, the regime hold them for 21 days. Bang Sita, is the quarantine necessary for 21 days?
They need to do proper quarantine. From what we've seen in the news, it doesn't seem to be the case. First of all, the migrant worker, they being forced to go back to Cambodia because some of them don't have paperwork that they can stay in Thailand. And then if they stay, they don't have work and they have room to pay, they have mouth to feed, you know, so they decide to go back home to be with the family, at least in their own home. They don't have to pay rent. Most of them, you know, go back to their village and, you know, stay to their mom and their parents' house. At least they don't have to pay for rent and, you know, water and things like that. So they're being forced to go back home, and then now when they get home, they enter the border, they're being forced to quarantine. And like you already mentioned, when they forced to be quarantined, even if they don't have COVID, if someone in that crowd have COVID, everybody gonna have COVID by the time 21 days up. So it's not a proper way to be quarantined like that. We in America, when you quarantine, you can live in the same house and you separate yourself in separate room. You do, you know, you still do distancing. You still, and when in ventilation is also another important thing. And you don't try not to share bathroom and stuff. So sanitation is very important also in the process of quarantine. And CDC guideline and WHO guideline is 10 to 14 days. So if you don't have the symptom, and if you test negative, but from the contact, you quarantine for 10 days. If you can't come in contact with somebody who tests positive. But if you have symptom, and from the onset of symptom, if your illness is moderate or mild, you know, with low fevers and some cough and things like that, quarantine for 14 days, and then that's it. And then if the illness is progress longer, then yeah, you need to be in hospital and quarantine longer. But the guideline is not for everybody. It's, you know, for depend on how ill you get, and, you know, if you get symptom, you don't get symptom and all that stuff. You don't put everybody into a jumble, everybody 21 days. And no, it's been going on for almost 2 years. They should learn something already from the world, how we handle, how, you know, the rest of the world handle things. And it seems like they just wake up and you know, do things their own ways, not trying to learn anything from anybody around the world. I don't know. It's just not right. Inhumane. That's another thing. Yeah.
On Somalis, what would you recommend them to do? And Bang Sita touch base on the WHO and the CDC. What do you recommend the regime to do? Well, first, what does quarantine necessary for people coming in from Thailand to Cambodia?
So the quarantine is necessary to distinguish, to determine who is infected and who's not infected. Then you come into a split where it has to be put in isolation. Those who are tested with COVID need to be isolated. And when they are
can you speak a little louder? I can barely hear you, so I'm not sure. Is it my microphone or is it? And now she's froze.
I'm sorry, I'm back
Okay,
now.
go ahead. Okay.
Yes. So yes, quarantine is necessary to determine and run the testing for those migrant workers that's coming back to our country, to determine if they are infected or not infected. Then secondly, they would have to be isolated. Those who are tested positive has to be isolated. Isolation meaning you have to be using a sick room, a separate room, separate bathroom. Your household item cannot be shared, like your cup, your towel, your utensil. You have to wear a mask. So overall here, what we have here as quarantine and isolation, we have the room, we have the mean, we have the necessity to do it, right? Now, most of the question is, in Cambodia, what if they don't have that capability, what would I be suggested to be at its best? So I would recommend, if you are getting people quarantined and you are a government who separated the family and put them in a not under a non-sick room, and they're being shared with something else, with everybody else, I would recommend them not doing that. It was almost better for them to just, go home, give them the process like they needs to follow, and have them quarantine themselves, trust them enough to quarantine themselves. It's almost better to contain that than put them in a room together, sharing everything together, and get exposed and evaluate those COVID symptoms over and over again. It's just not healthy for them to do that.
Thank you, Paon. But before this show, were you aware that the quarantine, they just throw everybody in a room, and there's many quarantine center, and they just put people in a room, and then 21 days later, when people complain, and according to them, they said, proper amount of time, as mandatory 3 weeks. When they tested negative, after that 21 day, then they let them go. And to us, when we hearing it, when the WHO's and the CDC is like 10 to 14 days, like what happened? What's such a disconnect between that? So have you heard this before this show today?
This is my first time hearing this, to be honest with you. I have not been following a lot of information from our country. It's just because of the fact that some of the information are being shared out are not realistic and or trusted. There's a lot of source where we can't be trusted. But what I do see is that real live streaming videos coming from migrants, workers, and people like us, spot checking every now and then. But to be realistic and to be technicality, no, this is my first time hearing that from you, and I thank you so much to providing me that information. Again, when you shove everybody in the same corner, in the same roof, and utilizing all of this household product and not follow the CDC guideline, it is just humane. I really wish that our Cambodian government would do something about this, make it a little bit easier for our people. After all, we are his people, we are human being too, we're not animal. Treat us fairly. Treat us fairly. We are the same. We're not different than you are.
It's tough enough already to cross the border to find work because you couldn't make a living or don't make enough living in Cambodia to cross the border, and then to go over the border, and the economy there is really bad, and you have to come back dragging your kid, your belonging back, because when there's no job, you cannot afford to pay your room in Thailand. So coming back, the regime make you quarantine, and not just quarantine for 10 to 14 days, but for 21 days. At that, for 21 days, so almost a whole month, people cannot make any living, cannot make any money. even though when they're coming back from Thailand, they should have, some of them, if they're lucky, they have their own home to go to and not owe anybody anything. But for 21 days, they cannot work to make anything or farm to do anything or grow anything for 21 days.
Yeah. In my personal opinion, I just wish that those regime would put themselves in their shoe. I just wish that they can put themselves in their shoe, because going through all that struggles, I'm sure it is hard. I can't imagine how hard it is. I've seen, clips and pieces of people still walking barefooted, crossing from the border from our country to, a different country just to find jobs. We should have jobs in our country. I can't express enough, I can't express enough. Now, if I'm moving forward here, wanting to say what I really want to say, I would get very emotional, and you'll probably see tears come in. So I would.
Thank you, Paul. And Sita, you want to add anything to our topic about our migrant workers from Thailand who returning home? I mean, first, like I said, first of all, they go to Thailand because the regime does not have job for them in Cambodia, or job that compensate enough, and then they went to Thailand. They now have to come back because there's no jobs, not enough income.
Yeah, it's just heartbreaking to hear everything what we're talking about today, the land grabbing, the don't have enough job in the country, people move to Thailand. From one of the report, I heard that about 2 million people migrate to Thailand. 2 million people from Cambodia migrate to Thailand to find work, and that to show how inadequate the current government, not making enough job, not creating enough job for their own people. Of course, every country have migrant workers, from different places, but 2 million out of 16, 17 million, how many percent is that? It's a huge percentage. It's just unspeakable. And for them, some of them don't have paperwork, like I mentioned before, and they have to go back to Cambodia. They can't stay in Thai, because Thai enforcement officer, they force them out. Those who don't have paperwork, those who have paperwork, they get to stay. They get vaccinated, and so they have to go back home. And then the government, Hun Sen government, have to do that to them. It's just so inhumane. They need to come up with a better technique, better, proper way to handle the people. The way they handle right now, it's just very inhumane.
Thank you, Bong. You brought up a really great point about we talking about land grabbing. We are building this massive airport, and then we still couldn't find job for Cambodian. What's wrong with that picture? Like, this massive airport that's being built is going to finish in 2023, and then we have people crossing the border to find job. So that must be a lot of job at that airport. Mm-hmm. How come we not? How come our worker cross the border instead? Who building those airports?
I heard that majority of the construction, that being, even regular building construction, Chinese is the one who, the builder, but they are also the one who bring their own people to do those labor as well. Even a low labor job, they bring their own people. Very few people from from Cambodian people get to work in those construction places, and like the airport, is, for example, and other building places as well. I heard news about those. So That's why that's why the people don't have jobs. That's why they migrate to Thai, because the development, Chinese, the owner of the development, and then Chinese bring their own people to do those construction work. You know, it just outrageous, you know, from a Cambodian perspective. Yeah.
Thank you, Bong, and thank you, Paon. Yes, it is a sad situations like all around when we talk about it. Like we talk about the airport, and then we talk now that we move and we talk about migrants worker that came back from Thailand, and I was like, well, there's a lot of jobs at the airport, and at the same time, we're talking about this land grabbing situation where it's not ending, and that is from the top. And when Somaly said it, it's from the top, and when it's from the top, it's China control. At the same time, China having their people to work on the construction. So many Cambodians had to cross the border to find job because the regime is incapable of giving job to his own people.
You know, if I may add, even the Chinese, they bring in not just construction worker, but they brings in lawless people as well. So many of those people who come to work like construction work, but they also the bad people, you know, they come to the society and give a lot of trouble in Cambodia as well.
I think normal word would be called thug, right? Yeah, it's like, oh, that's lawless people.
Lawless people. Yeah.
And if I may add to that subject,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We also have to keep in mind there's competitions, right? China's have more proficiencies, competition in educations compared to our migrants worker that's coming back to our countries, and majority of them are labor workers, manufacturing workers. So by the time this airport thingy is the investment and everything's are all done, yeah, it's really good saying, yeah, there's going to be plenty of jobs for our people. But if we think about it, there's going to be competitions in getting that job in the door, right? They're going to be selective. They're going to be selecting people that has more education that can benefit the running process. So I doubt that our migrant workers, which is our Cambodian flesh-blooded people that's coming back, are going to end up getting that type of job anyway. This is minus not just China. We're talking about Vietnamese people, and you know, that are mixed race or more high education than what we have in our own race. And I don't want to see this, because in looking at, again, observing myself in the social media world and looking back at my country, comparing to China, comparing to everybody all around the world, my people are less educated than anybody else. We should have the capability of giving education. We have the funding, we have the money. Now, why are we still in that bottom? That just need to change. We need to change. We need to see improvement. We need to see some sort of a progress. If this is keep going, people are going to start rising. I mean, the political opposition party don't have to go in. Our own people are facing through starvation, and it's going to rise by itself just sooner or later. So come on, let's change this. Let's work together. Let's make our people a little bit better. You know, give them a little bit of life decency. There's other ethnicity that are way better than our own, you know, our own blood. What's up with that? Come on.
And when it comes to training, when you said about construction, it does not take long to train in construction. There's no need to bring outside people to do. I'm sure more than, I mean, the migrant worker that leaving to go to Thailand, they are more capable of doing that. And everywhere in America, when all about training, how long does it take to train somebody to, that's an investment you put into to the person or to your people, so that way in the future that investment will pay off. So you only have to train people once. When you train people again, it would be just an upgrade. It's not just a whole training, but it just doesn't take long to train people. And it's really benefit if they put the effort, if they put in the money to train people, instead of bringing lawless people who we call thug in this country into Cambodia.
True. I would like to have a saying that we do have plenty of smart Cambodian construction workers, engineers. We have plenty of wise people out there. Now, why is our own government in Cambodia is not utilizing our own people? That is the question that I don't understand, because of the fact that you are empowering other races beyond your own races. That's just not what we want to see, what we want to hear. We are Khmer people here. We are Khmer. We are Cambodian. I am an American Khmer. I was born in Thailand. I don't want to see my own people suffer anymore. I don't know what else to say.
Thank you, Paul. We actually touch base on everything on today, like Bong Sita said as well. So Bong Sita, you want to add anything on this, both of this? One is current event, and another one is our topic.
Well, just want the people in the world, because we are speaking English today, to help sign the petition. If you want to help change in Cambodia situation, if you like democracy, you like people to experience democracy, if you like people to be treated humanely, which is not happening in Cambodia. You want Cambodia people to experience more humane, please help sign the petition. And that by signing the petition, you will help in your small way of helping, this process of helping people for better life, better living condition in your own way. That's, at least do that, please. Yeah, that's all I have for today.
Now that you're talking about the petition, Somaly, beside the petitions, we have HR 4686. What should people do with that? What should Cambodian American or American people do to help pass that legislator HR 4686?
We have been advertising around our little city here in Fresno, and our advertisement has been live streaming everywhere around the world. So of course everybody's understand about that now. Take part of that. It's very easy. If you see us, advertising about this, we're giving you links. Just go into the links and follow that simple instruction. All we're asking is about a couple minutes of your time. That couple of minutes of your time will make a big difference. Get that in there. Everybody, please get that in there. Only 5 minutes. Put your name, your email information. If you don't want to disclose your name, there's an option where you can uncheck it. That way you don't have to disclose your information. You can still do this. Take part of it. It will make a difference. It doesn't impact right away, but at least it's one thing that can show, and we can be transparent to the world that our country needs help.
Thank you, Paul.
Linda, since you mentioned the Bill HR 4686, if I may add, we are pleading for people, again, if you don't have to be Cambodian, Cambodian people or any race, if you want, those Hun Sen government not set foot in America, please call your Congress and tell them that you are supporting Bill HR 4686. Each time you call, it make a difference. Each time you call, even if somebody don't pick up the phone, you leave a message, say your name, your zip code that you live in, and you call to your congressman in each of those districts and tell them, my name's so-so, I live in this zip code, I live in your district, and I would like you, Congressman ABC, whoever your congressman is, to support Bill HR 4686. And every call they make, every email that we make, they keep records of of those calls, those email that they get about each of those bills. So please do your due diligence. Even if you are not Cambodian people, please help with that part. Call to your congressman at this point, because the bill is it passed the Foreign Affairs Committee. Now it's being ready to go into the House floor, and so we're just waiting for that. And once it's in the House floor, your congressman gonna be voting on that, and we need your support, please. And once it's passed from the congressman, we're gonna have to do the same with the Senate, and then it go to those dictatorship cannot come to United States. Their asset gonna be freeze. So the bill is called Cambodian Democracy Act. So help, do that part, please.
Somaly, go ahead.
If I may just add a little bit, when you do place a phone call to your representative, let them know that you don't have to be a CNRP supporter. You can just tell them that you are just one of the Cambodian or one of the person that are like, concerned about, this bill, and you just want to play a voice into that. So by reaching out to them is to, first of all, for them to, like Sita said, they're tracking all the names and all of the people that that calls in. So if you're like I and like Sita or a CNRP supporter, we represent those leadership. So it might be representing more than just two of us. There could be in our team, there could be, you can represent, maybe there's 100 of us, and then let the representative know when you make that phone call, there's 100%, there's 100 of us that are calling that we are representing because we are concerning about this bill. We want this bill to move forward. We want this bill to move forward, so that way, once it's passed into a law, our government in the United States can start dispersing. They can do it legally, and they can intervene.
Thank you, Bon, and thank you, Sita. Now, our topic is end already, but I want to talk to Somaly. All three of us we were at Long Beach last Sunday. So what happened on Somaly?
So I just wanted to clarify some stuff in the air. I am just one of the supporter of Sir Sam Rainsy. He is one of my admirational persons since my father was alive. To make life story short, I took it offense in a little bit when I went to Long Beach and I saw this one Cambodian person holding, it's a lady, she's holding a sign. I don't know who she was. She was holding a sign, appears to be disliking because of the way of her body language. So I was parking and I kind of like walk, towards her and just kind of asking, Ming Ming, what is this sign is about? So as soon as she opened her mouth and she told me that this is Sir Rainsy, you should not support this, he is a liar, he is this and that, I was very agitated. I was upset. I was really upset. And that was my first time. I don't know who she was. My emotional just went poof, and I think I was very professional enough, be nice enough to be respectful because she is an elder. She is Cambodian. I just kind of like, explained to her, hey, I'm sorry that you're here by yourself. There's, what's going on? Me and my sisters trying to ask. And, she, at first she wanted to voice out her opinion, but the fact that she's throwing everything else on top of that, it just went too far out. And then not only on top of that, after I was settled with her, there was another gentleman that was on the other side. When as I was turning around, he kept saying, well, go ahead and give Sir Ramsey more envelope, and while we are struggling. And I was turning around, I overheard that, and I said, you know what, I'm capable. I manage. I have no problem giving that money. Again, I'm talking, this information are being given through a live streaming. I just wanted everybody to hear me out and be clearly about this. I am Sam Ramsey supporter out here in America. I know my boundary. I know what I'm selecting. Sir Sam Ramsey is the best person out there for our country. I can't imagine once he's leading there, the whole sector is going to change. Give him chance. I myself don't like anybody that would put down on any of my admirable person, especially him, at my most. My father, I dedicate my life for my father, and he's kind of like that. So when you witness and you're seeing somebody looking him down, it affects me personally. It does. It affects me personally. When it comes to money, I have to support that. They're being chased out from their own country, from our Cambodian countries, and they are not making any money. They're not having any type of financial status. And so, on just when it comes to money, we want to help push that forward. We want to make this happen. We want the voice heard. The more voice, the better. The more voice, the better. This is where the HR, our Cambodian Act is all coming into play. Make that activities so that way everybody can hear about it, that there's a problem, constant problem in our country, and we can do something about it.
Linda, if I may add just a little bit more what Somaly just said.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the money was brought up during the confrontation. I would say we capable, like Somaly said, we capable of donating. Unlike Hun Sen regime, he donate to the poor. Well, not to the poor. He donate to those who want to donate. He has the money to pass down to those who he think it's worthy of his who support him. But we on the other side, we supporting our leaderships, CNRP movement, because they don't have salary. They don't have money like Hun Sen does. And because we support their ideology. And that's why we're not afraid of helping them on the journey, because we want to see our country better, become a better government. Hopefully one of these days the government will change for a better person, a better party, and all that stuff. So yeah, we have no problem with that. And if anybody have problem with that and see that's a wrong thing, we don't see it as a wrong thing. And we are, we were just heartbroken when we see just two people out of like how many people we had during that day, and only two people came out and say something the opposite. So it was embarrassing for them. But nevertheless, there are people like that criticize every things the CNRP movement do. So we can't shut their mouth, but at the same time, we want to express our opinion as well. And thank you for letting us saying those things today.
No, I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm also going to bring it up for people that say that it's very ignorant. They never contribute to a political party in America. if you belong to a party, if you belong into a Republican or Democrat, what do? You donate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you donate
And
money,
you
you donate
donate money, you donate your time.
time.
And if, for example, now we're talking about big political party, what about if you are running for city council, you running for like educations, or for how do
For
you have money to campaign? How do you have money to get the sign up? And how do you get money to travel? So if you ever involved with an American politics, or you ever belong to any political party, you will be asked to donate, and that's from out of your own goodwill to donate. And that is the same thing. We would like to donate to a certain political party, and that's what we want to do. And that just need to be clear up. And people, if these people saying about a certain thing, then that person never know about American politics, and they live in America, and that should be that's the way American politics work.
mm-hmm.
If I may add to that, it is more important, even more critical and more important when you help support a party that are being chased out, that are being accused, wrongfully accused. And that's even makes it more out of my own heart and my own gesture, to makes me feel like, you know, I wanted to help. I wanted to do whatever I want, not to do whatever I want. Put this in your mind. It's better to do something than not doing nothing at all. People said, oh, you can't do it. Oh, you can't put the Western practice into our country. If you keep thinking like that, it's never going to happen. You have to start somewhere to get somewhere. So we all come together and just change that terminology a little bit. We want to make the change, so please get involved and get yourself involved, and not just smack talking. Do it. Just do it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bong Sita, and thank you, Somaly, for today. I enjoy your presence and enjoy you being here today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for both of you, and I enjoy talking to both of you, and we'll talk next time with a different topic, but thank you for being here tonight.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you to our audience for being here today. We are over 1 hour, but I would like to thank you and for joining our show. Once again, if you forget, this is Khmer Youth Voices for Justice. This is part of the CNRP America live show. Again, my name is Linda. I am live from Los Angeles, California, and our show is on every Tuesday. If you are on the West Coast, it's on at 6:30. If you are on the East Coast, it would be at 9:30. So please join us next week, next Tuesday. We have different guests. We have different generations to basically here to talk and discuss. Most of the time we will discuss about Cambodia, but also we discuss about American politics. Also, we have guests from Canada as well. So we'll touch base, and also, as always, we will give you our perspective on how basically our perspective, the way we look at it, and the way how the politics in America compared to what's going on in Cambodia. So it's from our perspective, from our guests, basically our guest and I perspective. So as always, thank you for being here tonight, and good night, and I see you next Tuesday. Chum Riep Lia, and goodbye.